to heat up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plus Platoon. We're a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We'll look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed and you will never miss a moment. I'm going to bring in Kate. Kate, glad to have you with us this week.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
And we've got Pete. Pete, how are you doing?
Hey, Derek. Hey, Kate. I don't want to flub my opening, so I'll just stick with that.
Flub your opening? Flub?
Dropped awfully early tonight. So, waka, waka, waka. That was a Fozzie joke.
That was a Fozzie joke for sure.
That was a Fozzie joke.
Guys, if you have not already, please like, subscribe, share. We got some fun shows coming up and some shows that you guys probably haven't watched in a long time and think you know, but I'm betting you don't. So this week, because it is leap year, the first thing that came to mind for jumping was Flubber. So we went back to the original Absent-Minded Professor, the 1961 version. And it's not apparently there was a made-for-TV version with the guy that played Harry Stone off of Night Court.
Oh, yeah, right.
It was like 45 minutes long. There was one of those. And then there was the Robin Williams one.
Right.
With, which is the one my wife remembers. But, you know, I always like, me, I always like going back into the vault and trying to catch, okay, this is the one that did well. I mean, it was the number 5 movie box office of the year, 1961. And there were some pretty heavy hitters in 1961.
I was going to say, what were the other movies that year?
You would ask me that when I am not prepared for it.
Well, when we looked it up, the number 1 movie was, I believe, 101 Dalmatians.
101 Dalmatians, West Side Story.
Yep.
Guns at Navarone, El Cid. I mean, some fairly heavy hitters.
Judgment at Nuremberg was that year. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Okay. So, Pete, I'm going to start off with you on this one. What had us leaping for joy? What was good about this flick?
Well, so I enjoy going back into the vault and looking at these movies. And this was really, when you think about it, kind of the first of its genre, which I would almost call like silly science. That you get, I mean, there's a sequel to this movie. You get the Kurt Russell trilogy, the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, the Shaggy Dog, where the kid turns into a dog. Even the Herbie movies are like, there's some kind of magical science that goes on, and it leads to all kinds of hijinks. And this was almost the first of those, I think, that Disney did.
Shaggy Dog was first.
Oh, Shaggy Dog was before this? Okay.
Shaggy Dog was in 59.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So it wasn't the first, but it was one of the earliest ones. And this one, I found I was entertained by it. There were parts of it that I thought were very funny. I did laugh. It was the same joke over and over again, but I did laugh at the basketball game when the guys were bouncing all over the place. I did think that was very funny. I thought some of the other uses of the flubber were also funny when he was trying to dance to impress his girlfriend and he was kind of bouncing all over the place. I thought the movie was paced pretty well. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to kind of contradict myself on that when I get to what I didn't like about the movie. But there weren't too many slow parts to the movie where I was like bored from it. And yeah, so I kind of, and I liked seeing some of the actors and actresses that were in the movie as well. So, especially Keenan Wynn and his dad, and Edwin, who played the fire chief, I think.
And
you didn't get bored at all?
No.
Wow.
And there were actually Keenan Wynn's son was one of the kids in one of the scenes. So there were actually 3 generations of wins.
3 wins.
3 wins.
That's called a win-win-win.
Ah, ding-a-ding-ding-ding.
Oh, wow. Pete, I don't know what you've been drinking tonight, but you're cut off.
It's the problem. I haven't been drinking anything.
Oh, so that is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for me, I liked some of the like the special effects. Now, do you guys know why this was done in black and white?
So that you couldn't see
No.
the strings?
Basically, yes. It was to cut his special effects department a break. Is literally how it was phrased. Is because
Yeah.
they knew, part of it is they knew that in 3 years they had Mary Poppins coming. So, but these were some of the first time Disney really worked with lifting people. And there was a lot of that in Mary Poppins.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those where some of the special effects were done. So it was done in black and white. So some of the special effects, you couldn't super see how they were done. I love Keenan Wynn in a lot of stuff. This is not my favorite performance of his, though. That has to be either as Hezekiah in The Great Race, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, Natalie Wood, great, funny Blake Edwards movie, funny movie, or in the movie version of Kiss Me, Kate, he is one of the gangsters that sings "Brush Up Your Shakespeare."
Oh, okay.
And is an amazing. It's so different from he normally plays the bad guy, but it's just great. He's very, very dynamic. Now, Kate, where have you heard Ed Wynn's voice in the Disney catalog?
I have no idea. Not a clue.
Wasn't he the Mad Hatter?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
No.
Edwin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
Edwin was.
Was that Wynn the Mad Hatter or the March Hare? He was the Mad Hatter. Yeah, he
I'm
was the
looking
Mad
it up.
Hatter. He's also in 1964's Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Yep.
Yeah. So, I like that part. I liked again for the time the special effects were decent. Overall, the story made sense. Like what they were doing made sense in a big picture. Now I had a lot of issues with it in a small picture, but I mean, this had some fun moments in it. So, Kate, what worked for you?
So I'll agree with Pete. The basketball scene actually did make me giggle. The other time that made me laugh, weirdly enough, is when they were in the main guy and the girl
In the warehouse,
in the barn, or in the barn or whatever, in the warehouse,
trying to break out.
Yeah, that just made me chuckle.
I did like when he knocked out the crooks and he's like, "Wait, you got to get us out! Wake up!"
Get it again, yeah.
And then when they were in the car and they're like, they see something in the sky. Do you see anything? I don't see anything. Yeah, that just made me chuckle. I can see how this movie would have been very popular in that time. And it's not, when I say it didn't age well, it's not that it didn't age well because it was inappropriate. It felt, there were parts where I was like, I would look, I'd be like, surely we're almost done. And we were like 30 minutes into the movie. So, yeah, the acting was good. Some of the acting was good. The storyline left some like, oh no, I missed my own wedding. Like, and then she's gonna marry another man. The man has already asked. Like, what? Come on.
The next day. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So, yeah. But overall, I mean, it was fine. It was
Okay.
it was cute.
Okay. So Kate, Go
So
ahead.
can I just say one thing, because we were talking about Keenan Wynn? When I think of Keenan Wynn, I'm a big Rankin Bass Christmas special fan. I think of Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, where he played the Winter Warlock. If anybody remembers that particular one, where he was the Winter Warlock that guarded the mountain, and Santa Claus had to go over the mountain, and they sang "Put one foot in front of the other." Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one to watch that one. Burgermeister Meisterburger was in there. No,
Sheena
I'm
is
you guys
looking at
frozen?
Edwin. No, you're good. I can hear you.
I think they froze.
no,
Oh, your face
we're
is
just
frozen.
looking at you going,
That's Keenan Wynn.
okay.
I'm trying to look. I'm looking back at Edwin's. I guess Mary Poppins is what I knew him from.
Yeah.
Although I did watch Bonanza growing up, and he.
You would have known him as the uncle in the I Love to Laugh uncle in Mary Poppins.
Yes, that's where I knew his face
I
from.
love to laugh loud and long and clear.
Yep. Oh, and he was the toy maker in Babes in Toyland.
He
Oh,
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So-
I grew up watching that movie. So
Okay, Kate, I'm going to give you a first shot at what should have been bounced out of the movie. What did not work?
all of it. The story, it was just the storyline just wasn't great. It didn't really explain a lot right off the bat, so that was hard. Like I just felt this movie just did not hold my attention, and I wanted it to, because again, I know I said this before we started the show. I love that era of movies and television. I love between the late 40s to the early 70s. Like I love It's Wonderful Life and Singing in the Rain and White Christmas and Holiday Inn. All of those, I love those. The Ghost of Mr. Chicken with Don Knotts. I mean, I could go on. I could name all of these different movies that I love. So I was hoping that this was gonna fall into that, and it just did not hold my attention. A lot of weird plot points that I just didn't feel like had a through line. So yeah, it just wasn't my favorite, but I know Pete, you really liked it.
I did. There's definitely some problems with this movie, though. To me, the strength was in the first third of the movie, through the basketball game, and it's kind of one of those things where, like, if you're going to have like a big important basketball game in your movie, usually you put that towards the end, not at the beginning. That was a little weird to me.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I thought, like, I guess getting the car back was okay, but like the very end where they're flying to Washington and everything was very boring. So I found the movie just kind of like, it started here and then it just kind of slowly went down, and it did not finish strong, for sure. In my opinion. I also think, like, by having it start out with him having left her at the altar for the third time, it sets him up to be a bit of a, not even a bit of a jerk. like why the third time? Like, they should have made it, this is the first time, and then okay, he gets knocked out or whatever. That would have pissed her off enough, I think, for the movie. He didn't really need to do it 3 times. So I, and then and even his response to that is just like, I know he's the absent-minded professor, but it's like, geez, buddy, read the room. So I don't think as a main character, he was very likable. It was more just all about the plot mechanism to get to the next plot point. So I did think he was fine in the role. Fred McMurray is a good actor. I thought he did a good job. So those were my main 2 things. I thought the movie just kind of went downhill as it went along, and started strong, ended kind of weak. And then I think I would have liked to have seen him be a more, absent-minded is one thing, but like actual jerk is another. So what about you, Derek?
Agreed.
for me, part of the issue was some of the plot points that they tried to get back to were never resolved. What are they going to do for money for the college? Is one. I mean, that was never solved. That's the big plot point of the whole reason that, the college is in trouble, the money, and all of a sudden it's one of those where that never gets solved. We assume he sells it to a branch of the government, but we never know.
Yeah, it seems more like he's like, oh, I'll just give it to the government.
Yeah.
And that the school wouldn't have liked that either. Never mind Mr. Wolf not liking it, but yeah, the school wouldn't have been too happy.
Because the school would have owned the patent, technically.
Right, exactly.
So my other part is, okay, with the bets on the basketball game, $15,000 back then was a ton of money.
Yeah.
But he also said he gave them 6-1 odds. So
yeah.
he would really owe them like $90,000. It's one of those where it just didn't make sense. And I'm sorry, Tommy Kirk is a bad guy. Didn't work in this movie. Did not work in this movie. I just kept looking at him going, okay, his big crime is he plagiarized a paper or something, and that's what made him turn to a life of crime with his dad. Or I'm just
well, and the other thing that, like, watching the basketball game, did you really think that one guy who's also really tiny would have made a difference against that other team?
That I was like, wait a minute, because they were like, oh, they're it doesn't, when he was like, it doesn't matter if they're 6 feet tall or 10 feet tall, they're gonna just remember to bounce or whatever. And then they were showing this kid, and I was like, that kid is not an inch over 5'8". So if that, like, that's being quite generous. So I'm glad that you had the same thought.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tommy Kirk would not have made a difference at all in that game. Plus, let's face it, the guys, it reminded me of the Harlem Globetrotters against the team they always beat.
The Generals, yeah.
Generals, yeah. Okay, it was the Generals. That's what I thought. So, it's just, it was fun, but there were definite times where they showed the exact same bucket multiple times in that basketball, especially for the bouncing team. And I didn't really need to see every basket that brought them back to win the game. That's what it felt like.
I don't know. I said that was the one scene that worked the most for me. And I thought that I was like, this is going on for a while, but I'm still laughing at it. So it's working for me. I don't know.
Okay. So,
it worked for me.
But I mean, the pacing was slow. I was like, Kate, I was about 45 minutes in. Again, after the basketball scene, I'm going, oh my gosh, we're still going? Seriously? And all of a sudden, she completely forgives and believes him immediately. I'm just, guys,
it is 1961.
Find someone as loving and understanding as she is, grab onto her and hold onto her tight, because she is a rare breed.
Yeah, and he's not any better in the second movie either. So
no, he's not. So okay, now, as Pete has said, in reality, this should have been, if this had focused on the lead up and the playing of the basketball game, I think would have been a much better movie. So I've kind of come up with my list of what makes a good sports movie. And you guys can see if you agree with this or if you don't agree with this. Okay. So first, you have to have, there's a likable team that you can root for, or individual. But usually a sports movie is a team, unless it's like Rocky unless it's a boxing movie, you're rooting for a team. So you got to have a likable team you can root for, but you also got to have either a team or a person you can root against. I mean, even in like Cool Runnings, where technically it's them against everybody, you've got the Swiss team that you're not supposed to like.
Right.
You've got, in every movie, there's someone you have to be able to root against. And it has to be someone specific. It can't just be, oh, it's us against the league. Think, original Mighty Ducks movie, yes, it's them against the league, but it's the Hawks.
Right. It's got to be a team. Exactly.
Right. Okay. Next, the team has to show they actually get better. It can't just be they bumble, and yet they still go on and are good. They actually have to show some kind of improvement to me. Fourth, again, as Pete said, you got to have the biggest game at the end, or the biggest race, or whatever has to be the last one you see. Okay. There has to be some kind of suspense in the outcome. You have to think there's at least a minor chance, even if you know in your heart that they're not going to lose, there has to be a little bit of suspense. The one I thought of on this one was Miracle, about the 1980 U.S. hockey team. You know they beat the Russians, but you still have that little moment of suspense of, are they really going to get this done, and how are they going to get this done? And that then leads to the team usually has to win, or at least has to have a personal victory of some sort. Because about the only ones I can think of where the team doesn't win is either the first Rocky movie, he loses, or Cool Runnings. They don't win. They crash. Or, honestly, look at this list. Think Cars. This list works for the original Cars movie too. So, is there anything you guys would either disagree with or change or think needs to be added into this list as?
I would say in the likable team you can root for, in my opinion, it's the underdog.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Kate. That
it's the underdog.
Most typically, that team is the underdog. You don't often have the in the good sports movie the team that you're rooting for is the favored.
Yankees.
I also feel like there's usually some sort of tragedy that happens in the movie, not like to cause it, but like you said, Cool Runnings, they crash. Or in the movie, the Bad News Bears.
Yeah, baseball.
Yeah, one of the kids is killed. One of the kids dies.
Bad News Bears?
Which version are you watching?
It's the one, or maybe it was called Hardball.
Bad News Bears either has Billy Bob Thornton or Walter Matthau in it. It's one of those two are your main
It's
coaches.
Hardball. I was wrong. It's the movie Hardball with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, okay. We said good sports movie, Kate. So
no, this is a great movie. It's a great movie, but it's sad because one of the kids is killed. So, it's a great movie.
So I would change that to overcoming obstacles, right? There's got to, at some point in the movie, there's got to be some kind of obstacle for them to get over. And again, that's probably part of Derek's point number 5 being the sense of suspense.
Yeah.
Like someone quits the team at at some point, or the coach, I can't do this anymore. I'm not really the person you think.
Fired. Oh, my best player is going to come back unless you keep the coach.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep. Okay, Kate, what movie am I referring to on that one? Because I missed it. Okay. They want the coach to quit. They're going to fire the coach, but the best player decides he will only play if the coach is actually the one that coaches.
Is that Mighty Ducks?
Hoosiers.
Air Bud?
Hoosiers.
Oh, wow. That was a deep cut. I did not get that.
Hoosiers is a great movie.
Hoosiers is an amazing movie. So, again, team you can root for, and the team you want to root against is basically the big school in that one.
Yep.
So, okay. And I think we can all agree that this was not necessarily a good sports movie. But we have watched good sports movies on this show. This works.
I don't know if I would even call this a sports movie.
It's not really, but it is like it has a segment of the movie, that is a sports movie, and I mean it's a sports movie in like 20 minutes, right? It's like you're rooting for the underdog team because you know the bad guy is betting against them because he knows his son is out of the thing, and and then the hero of the movie does something to help the underdog team. And so, I mean, it's got a lot of these pieces in it. It just, as I said, to me, that was the weird thing about it is you put your, again, to me, that was the best part of the movie. I think we all would agree that, and you put your best part of the movie as your, act one plot point instead of at the end of the movie. So I think if they'd found a way to put that at the end of the movie, it could have been a better movie.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Who here has watched Flubber, the Robin Williams version?
I never saw it.
I definitely saw it, but it's been a minute.
Okay, I'm just trying to decide if I was looking at this real quick.
I remember from the ads, the Flubber became like an animated creatures, and like that alone was enough to be like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, and I'm just real quick looking at the plot there. The basketball thing actually goes like, right before halftime, essentially, right in the middle of the movie, and it's one of those probably not your strongest decision.
Yeah.
So, okay, as we always do when we've watched a movie, we give it a cups of pixie dust out of 5. As she does on every show she is on. Kate, what is your cup of pixie dust out of 5 for The Absent-Minded Professor?
I'm going to give it a 1.5.
Ouch.
It was, well, no, I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 2 because it's not that anything was particularly wrong with this movie. I just found it boring. So I'll give it a 2. What about you, Pete?
I'll give it a 3. It's a movie, as I said, I liked it. Would I go back to it a lot? No. I watched it probably 5 or 6 years ago when they were all doing all the Disney on TCM things.
Right.
And I didn't mind going back to it again. So that's usually where I put about a 3. As I said, if I didn't see this for 10 years, that would be fine. But, to me it's worth watching. It's interesting enough. And I do have to say, as part of that, I watched the second one, and the second one is worse than this one. So if you do not like this one, don't watch the second one.
And Kate, I missed it. What did you give this one? Did you give it a 1.5 or a 2?
2.
2.
Okay. Because the last thing you gave a 1.5 to was Tron. So okay.
I'll still give it a 2.
Okay. And I'm at a 2. I mean, it's not the worst thing we've watched recently at all. And we've watched some junk lately. And this is not there at all, but it's not good, and I'm never going back. If the movie could be the basketball scene, and that's the part that I can sit and watch is just a little basketball movie, and then go on and do something else, I would. But yeah, 2 for me. So put this at a 2.3 for an average. Again, not the lowest we've had lately, but
what is the lowest we've had lately?
Lady and the Lady and the Tramp and the Marvels both got a 2.1.
I ranked the Marvels high. Didn't I give it a 3?
Yeah, none of the rest of us did.
Oh.
I'm surprised Lady and the Tramp was that low, but okay.
Well, because we were all at a 2 or 2.5. There was no range.
Okay.
We were all right
Really
there.
for Lady and the Tramp.
So, okay. Kate, what have we got for Disney Plus news this week?
Yeah, not very much. The newest series, Star Wars Acolyte. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Will reportedly get a June 5th release date. The series will take place 100 years before Phantom Menace Episode 1.
So good news is you will not have to know anything before this movie.
Except probably you have to know who the Jedi are and who the Sith are.
Well, probably
will help. But other than that, you shouldn't have to have.
You won't have to know any. You won't have to know. I suppose Yoda will probably show up. Would be my guess.
Oh, can it be the puppet and not the CGI one?
Yeah, one can only hope.
All right. And then last but not least, Morbius. The Sony Marvel movie is coming to Disney Plus March 1st. Even Pete has said that there's no reason to watch what he has called a garbage movie. And that's it for the Disney Plus news.
And Pete, you're sticking with that review that it is a garbage movie?
I have not seen it, but I've talked to some people that have seen it, and it's
That's the one with Jared Leto.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no.
Where he's a vampire. It's in the Marvel, the Sony Marvel Spider-Verse. So it's a non-Spider-Man
with like all the Venoms and those, right?
Well, the Venom and
same ideas. Yeah.
Venom and Morbius is a vampire story. Venom is like an alien. And then the Madam Web just came out, and that was supposedly terrible too. So,
Madam Web, that sounds like, never mind. Madam Web, that sounds like some weird Universal dominatrix that they've got at Halloween Horror Nights. It's a Madam
Web.
So, okay, next week we are what I'm going to call a diamond in the rough. I've actually watched this one. Is called Operation Arctic Cure. It's a National Geographic show. It's 45 minutes long. It follows soldiers with PTSD and tries to figure out if by having moments of experiencing awe-inducing sights, awe-inducing experiences can help affect long-term their PTSD and what they go through. So a little bit of a warning, it is a heavier 45 minutes is plenty for the show, just because at least I felt some definite raw emotions. So not going to be a funny show by any stretch of the imagination, but that's what we're doing next week. If you have suggestions for us, please email us at plusplatoon@gmail.com. Got some spots in April we need to fill, but we've got new shows coming out every Thursday, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, for Kate and Pete, Gina, who is sleeping in the background, and Steve.
And we miss Steve.
Yeah, Steve will be back next week. So we'll see everyone then. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews, as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com, or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @plusplatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode, because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.